bit, so let's go ahead and call meeting order and start with claims.
Your dumpster should be coming to the park here, if it's not already there.
Awesome.
I didn't notice it today when I drove by there, I forgot to look.
Those eyes came in for
Thank
those.
you.
Yeah, Brian Termes talked to Brian, said you're gonna try to get this to finish up this
I don't think
week.
anybody
He's
starts
very
practice till
unorganized.
next week.
That's why I told her, I said it's
Yeah,
there. And I
very
said-
unorganized.
She called me last week, talked
Is
to
that
me, I said, if you
something
get
new,
there
or
this week
is
sometime,
there a-
it's Jack, I should take
I think
it
you might have
in,
had
so-
help before, didn't they,
I-
keep
I-
him
Is that
organized?
Big Mac or who is that?
Big Mac.
It's a long story.
We got a while until we have to start too.
Yeah, he's gonna try to have them done within the week. Now where he does not, I told him I'd help him more and turn the ward right.
Yeah, but those eyes are with you.
I've been
Like
receiving
doing Elvis.
notices from everyone, is that helpful?
Yes, I thought I'd print them off, and
Okay.
so now, like the one down the street around the sidewalk, since,
There's a judgment, it's gonna draw interest to 8%.
so did you have to keep going back to make them pay, or does it just?
We'll have to take
go-
them back for proceeding supplemental, and I can't do that for 30 days. though.
I thought you had to wait a time, but I was like,
And then if they don't show up for that, we can ask for a body attachment, which is a warrant. They'd have to bond out of jail then, because they didn't show up for court.
I kind of read between the lines that that's it, meant that you didn't show up.
And then, I guess I can update them. whenever.
This, Ferguson Enterprises,
That-
and you haven't got anything back?
No, she told me it'd
The
take
Houston's didn't
2
show
to
up,
4
and
weeks to
yours
get the money
didn't.
back. I thought, I guess I should have been lax and paying the
I did
bill.
talk about it.
And I was trying to be nice.
This side of town.
They were being nice working with us, so I wouldn't get the bill
Sure,
till.
yeah, and they were good to work with.
And she was real nice, but she just said, no, I'm telling you, it'll be 2 to 4 weeks. I said, that's fine.
So I'm trying to get her to put the house in, because then we can actually do something. But, but so far she hasn't. So it's a bad spot. She answers her phone.
She does answer her phone. She called me. She called and asked us to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve may come get you. He's been here before.
Yeah.
How's Dale?
I'm busy. I've been out ball game,
Okay.
granddaughter ball game. First game tonight. She got the first round of the season, so
Middle school? She's middle school. isn't she?
middle school.
Who's their coach? Who's their coach?
Blair.
Blair.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right, I did hear
My
that.
mind, I'm glad you said that, Nick. My mind went blank. I just talked to her. Well, my nephew's daughter plays on the same team, so.
Did your older granddaughter graduate?
Well,
Kyla's oldest?
Kyla's oldest graduated, yes.
Okay, yeah, I
This
guess
is
you got-
Kendall.
Yeah.
She's in eighth grade. I've got older grandchildren than
Yeah,
that.
I got you.
Yes. And she's coaching on the high school softball.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know that.
And this, right here, we're getting ready to sign off on UMAC for 5485. That's not down here, is it? What's that?
That's behind the alley.
Yeah.
All right, so we're not seeing the bill on that down here yet. That's what I wanted to know.
No.
Okay. I saw them in town early this morning. Looked like they was jetting this during.
Yeah, it was all plugged completely down the, well, they started down there probably 60, 70 feet past Brian Nelson's place.
Right.
And coming back, they couldn't get through it, so they had to come up here and go backwards through it.
And that 390 was hooking up a customer that after they ran the line, they hooked the customer up and I got it filled in. And
Okay.
it's easier for them, us to pay it and don't they?
Okay, Claims approved for the town, $3,012.77, and for the water department, $12,524.87. Under old business, the IDEM inspection and the needs that we had to make some changes, and I think everything has been done except the backflow preventer, is that right? And we being the fire department, put the old backflow preventer in,
Reinstalled it.
reinstalled it, but it leaked. The seals were leaking. So the inspector that came and looked at it said he couldn't pass it until that was rectified. So I got a hold of a guy that he suggested, not that he had any connections with, he said a guy he knows from over Plainfield. And I sent him the information and asked him for him to quote, rebuilding that. Well, I corresponded back and forth with this gentleman several times. His quote was for over $16,000 to rebuild it. And there's just no way. I mean, you can buy a new one for $3,000 or $4,000. So I have no idea what was going on there. But I just thanked the guy and went on. We did get a gentleman to come in that has been here before, inspected before, very competent. He came in, tore this one apart, cleaned it all, and it still was leaking by the seals. And he thought it probably would even when he was doing it. No charge on that. We decided to go ahead and have him order new seals for it, and I believe they were going to be in the $200-300 range. So he'll come and put them in as soon as they get here. So we should be back in that backflow preventer after it's been repaired for $500, something like that. So that's a savings of over $15,000.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Just say a lot.
Just a lot. So that's what we're waiting on, and as soon as it's done and it doesn't leak, we'll call the inspector back, and he can re-inspect it, pass it, and then we should be good.
Make everybody happy.
I hope, yeah. And that will be inspected yearly, annually?
Annually.
Okay.
Annually, yeah.
And the next IDEM inspection will be how many years?
3 years.
3 years, okay.
So,
And who's paying that, us or the firehouse?
Firehouse. And it's good that we made a decision that we're not going to sell bulk water into just anybody's truck. Just the other day, I got a call from a guy that we had sold to in the past, and I told him, no, he couldn't come and load because we don't have a backflow preventer, and the board has decided we're not going to sell water to independent contractors. So I don't think there's a problem. I don't think we ever made hardly anything off of selling water at all. So it's just better all the way around, I believe, for that. So as soon as we get that inspection, then I'll let you know that the town's okay on the drinking water inspection. Today, UMAC was here. The drains from here at the alley, across the street here, the two on each side of the alley, where I live, all the way down on the west side until you get to the low area where it turns and goes back west, was plugged. So they worked all day on jetting that out. And to simplify it, it's all coming off of, in my opinion, the state highway. It's the sand and everything that collects in the gutter, that turns a corner, comes down the drain and starts plugging as it goes. Again, the best solution is to have UMAC come in annually and just jet that instead of coming in like they did today and having to spend all day doing it. So that's something we need to consider next spring if we want to have them come through and jet that.
Yeah, because it's like, what time of year would you have them come? I mean, it's kind of hard to know what the weather's going to be like.
I would think after the winter season, after the sand is already there, and then, a year from now, just come back and jet that. I have no idea what the cost would be for that. We'd have to ask.
Sand and
For the-
leaves and debris from the fall.
Yes. I think doing it ahead of time would be futile with with a bad winter, you fill up with sand
And
again.
being those old tiles and stuff too, it helped just keep them cleaned out so they don't get compacted and,
That's true, yeah. Yeah, they were pumping water from the corner store basement, and it would run down through that drain, across the street to this drain, and it'd bubble up. It's almost like a mini fountain. So it was plugged tight down the way.
He did text me and tell me that he used 8,000 gallons of water today. So
Okay.
I can put that on the list.
Yeah.
So we'll have that.
Steve?
No,
Good, good.
Sorry, I'm late.
You're late now. So that's the old business, other than the lights that I just want to tell you that those were in, all the other lights are installed. Anything else under old business from anybody? New business, and I'm just gonna start off with Steve, if you're open to that,
sure, absolutely.
okay, and we'll get you started here.
Okay, I previously sent copies of the water utility rate study. Has everyone had a chance to review that or look at that?
I've looked at it, it's been a while ago, but
Sure,
I kind of
sure,
looked.
Sure, and I just want to know, starting,
Yeah.
so, water utilities in Indiana, you're outside of IURC jurisdiction, which means that you're locally controlled, and all you have to do is follow state statute to raise rates and charges. One of those state statutes states that your increases have to be fair and reasonable, and the way you do that is by following the revenue requirements in Title 8 of Indiana Code. And I make a finding for those revenue requirements in my report, and that would be on page, let's see, towards the back, page 23. So on page 23, I've shown some different columns. And I show what I call our break-even rates, which means if you set your rates, that you don't make any money in any given year, you just collect enough to pay your expenses. I never recommend that. But that shows that for break-even rates, you should have a 21% increase in rates and charges. What I usually recommend is 3-year rates or 5-year rates. And 3-year rates would be a 27% increase. I want to go down the revenue requirements, the statutory revenue requirements, and we start with operation and maintenance expenses. Those are your typical expenses that you pay on a monthly basis. It's salaries, it's wages, it's materials, it's supplies, it's utilities, the typical types of things that you pay. I've got a little item there for working capital, and that's defined since you bill in arrears, that is to provide funding for you to be able to provide services in advance of being paid for. The third item is extensions and replacements, and that is something that you aren't currently find your rates because you don't have what's called a depreciation fund. And generally, when you're looking at fund accounting for a utility, I call that shoebox accounting. You put a certain amount of money every month in a shoebox for a specific purpose. And you've got your operating fund, which is for operation and maintenance. You've got your debt service fund, which is to pay your debt that's outstanding. You might have a meter deposit fund to hold the money that you take in for your meter deposits. And generally, you also have what's called a depreciation fund. And a depreciation fund is to pay for capital improvements. And one of the typical things I like to talk about for capital improvements for a water utility is tank payment. You've got a water tower. You've got to pay it about every 25 years or so. It's expensive. I've got a budget here for about $85,000, and that may be light. But you generally have to put money back to be able to pay that when it's time to do it again. So, and that includes your pumps. I've got a small itemization of those types of capital built into the budget, and these are my estimates. They're reviewed by the town. We can change those if you want to. But I've got a water tower paying $85,000. I've got pumps at $5,000 and $2,500. I've got meter replacement, 250 meters. I've got hydrant replacement, 20 hydrants. I've got valve replacement, the master meter, chlorinator, and some tool replacement. These are based on the last rate increase that I did for the town, which is probably 6 or 7 years ago, it's been a while. So those numbers may need to be updated. Then we go back to page 23, and we see that the annual amount that we have is in there at 16,000. We've got debt service in your existing debt, which is $24,000 a year. And we have return on plan. And return on plan is to be able to provide more money to you than you're actually spending, so that if you, so when inflation happens, that your rates are at scale after the first year. So you always want a little bit of coverage, build up your fund balance a little bit, put some money back so that the rates will last longer than 1 year. I usually say you should look at rates and charges every 3 to 5 years, so that, because what you're really doing with a rate increase is setting a budget. And it's hard to set a budget for longer than 5 years in the future because things change. Expenses change, things change. Every 3 to 5 years, you should look at it. Your clerk treasurer will tell you if you're getting to the point that you're losing money on an annual basis, and that's a good time to look at it again too. But it's a little hard to gauge whether you're gaining or losing money. You say if you lose money 2 years in a row, it's time to look at rate study, because sometimes you have big items that you have to replace, and that makes it look like you've lost money in the year, but really you're doing okay. You just had to replace some items. You should be putting money back to replace those items. You're currently doing that. So my recommendations would be you start a depreciation fund, and with that, and when you raise the rates and charges, I've got the amount in there that we put $16,000 a year in the replacement fund to replace those items on page 25. Therefore, transfer about $1,351. That amount. Are you on page 25? You transfer about $1,351 every month.
Monthly
in the
transfer.
depreciation fund, and that would build up $16,000 and over time, you'd be able to fund all those items on page 25. So, I'm here to answer questions, kind of talk to you about, you guys don't do this a lot. Nobody does this a lot, which is why I come in here and help you with this. There's a process for raising rates and charges. You would introduce a rate ordinance at a public meeting like this one. And then after the rate ordinance is introduced and given an ordinance number, you would publish a notice in the newspaper of general circulation one time, 10 days prior to public hearing.
How long prior to, you say?
10 days.
10 days.
10 days.
Okay.
And that, usually people just say, let's do it at our next meeting, that gives you time to put it in the paper and have a plan for 10 days. And then you would start your regular meeting, and then you'd say we're going to now open the public hearing, and people have a chance to talk and comment on why they don't want you to raise rates and charges on water utility. And I usually attend the public hearings and I explain to them the need for the rate increase. And then after everybody's talked, you can shut down the public hearing, start your general meeting again. And at that meeting, you can adopt the rates on second and final reading. And then the rates and charges would go into effect at a time certain. What I generally put in the rate ordinance is as soon as practicable, which gives you time to get your billing program set up so that it reflects the new rates and charges. So what you'd want to do today is ask many questions about the rate increase, decide what amount of rate increase you want to, decide whether you want to update the schedule of extensions and replacements that I have in there for more recent estimates of what replacement costs are going to be. So it really depends with you on how soon you want this to happen, and whether you feel 3 years or 5 years is fine, whether you think the extensions and replacements I've shown you are good, and we're going to move forward. And again, I'm here to answer questions and give you any direction that you would like to have on how to move forward.
How much of that proposed rate increase is directly related to inflation and inflationary costs? Is there a correlation?
All of it,
Okay.
from your last, unless you have a change in your number of customers, and I don't know if you really have from the last one, I'd say you're probably pretty stable here on your customer base. And unless anything major happened to your system that you didn't anticipate, and all of it is just the general inflation from the last.
We've had an ongoing cost for replacing meters because they had
Sure.
timed out, basically.
Yeah, every 10 years, you're talking about replacing
Yeah.
those meters. And that's why we got an appreciation fund, you know, and the last time I did a rate study for you, I did the same thing. I looked at the last rate study, you know, I had a replacement schedule in there. And so you just didn't bother to set up an appreciation fund and hold it in a separate account. So you just spend it for other inflationary items as though enough salaries, wages, materials and supplies, purchase power, and those types of things. And never really put anything back, which is why you've been able to go as long as you have without coming in a rate increase, because you never really funded your replacement schedule. And I recommend you do that. It's a better way to operate. I usually call it the superintendent's budget, and the superintendent likes that. And then usually the way you're functioning now is that when your superintendent needs to replace something, he has to come and talk to you and the clerk treasurer and how much money you have. And generally the clerk treasurer says, we don't have any money, you know, it's done, because she's not looking at that as being in the budget. So that's why the operating fund would be the clerk treasurer's budget, and the replacement fund would be the superintendent's budget. So anytime then, as you fund that budget, the superintendent would come in and talk to the council and say, hey, I need to replace 10 meters. And we'd say, okay, how much is in the depreciation fund? And the clerk treasurer would say, how much is in the depreciation fund? And it's either in there or it isn't. And they'd say, well, go ahead. We've got the money or we don't have the money. And that way, it kind of gives them a budget to work with. And they can plan on what's to be replaced every year for the next 5 or 6 years and know how much money's coming in that they have to spend. And that works out really well. And then they're always talking to the clerk treasurer about, hey, I need money, I need money, I need money. So that's the way I try to set up most of my clients to operate the utilities. And when they do, they see that it's pretty well.
The depreciation fund then would be set up preferably if there's a rate increase or after that rate increase rather than today.
You can set it up if you decide you want to fund it, and then when you raise the rates, you'd be able to give you a budget of how much to transfer on a monthly basis. The board generally approves either a resolution or a verbal motion to create a new fund, and you put it in your records so the State Board of Accounts can see that that fund was authorized to be created. It's very typical. Those are the typical funds that utilities have. You know, operating fund, debt service fund, debt service reserve fund, deposit fund, a replacement or depreciation fund, and then a construction fund if you have a construction project where you keep the money separate for construction from your other funds.
Anticipating questions from the public, one might be, how does this recommended rate increase compare across the state? Is this an average rate increase, or is this?
You know, generally what they ask is what our final rates and charges are,
Sure.
and are those average throughout the state of Indiana. So, page 27, I've got what I call a typical billing schedule, and we look in the far left-hand column, and you've got the number of gallons a month. Indiana Department of Environmental Management says
This
that
is
4,000
current
gallons
right now.
is the typical amount of water usage for a family in Indiana. And I find that for smaller cities and towns, it's closer to 3, and for larger cities and towns, it could be anything. Greenwood and Carmel around 10,000 a month. I always like to mention that. You know, that's a lot of water to use every month. Those are the 2 highest using communities that I know of in Indiana. But you can look across here and say that at current rates, you're at 61. At 3-year rates, you'd be 78. I would tell you that those are higher rates than I generally see. There are 2 subsidized interest rate loan programs in Indiana. One's called the USDA Rural Development, and the other is called the Indiana State Revolving Loan Fund. And they look at what user fees are throughout Indiana, and they've got what they call an affordability index. And for water, the Indiana State Revolving Loan Fund went up to $65 last year as what is affordable. So you'd be a little bit above that. Rural Development's kept the same number for the last 40 years, and that's $40. They don't change their number, but the State Revolving Loan Fund does occasionally. And that's an indication of what's typical throughout Indiana. and specifically the state revolving loan fund uses that affordability index to determine whether a community needs help when they're coming in for funding in the form of additional grant money to try to buy user fees down. Nobody buys user fees down for operation and maintenance costs, and that's where we are now. You know, you've had your debt for a while. There's people buy down capital projects, these funding programs, but they don't buy down operating. So there's really nothing you can do except looking at adding customers or adding benefits that you could go out, that you could more people on, like you said, bulk users, and nobody makes money on bulk users. You know, they just don't, and sometimes they create a lot more problems than they cure by trying to do that. I don't know if that's a good answer or not. When you talk about rates and charges, I'm going to add one more thing. I love to talk, sorry about that. And that is when people say, how are the rates and charges from this community typically to other communities, they say it's a little bit like comparing your car payment to your neighbors. You know, it depends on how old a car you bought, how expensive a car you bought, how long you took the funding over, what the interest rate was on it, whether you had a trade or not. There's so many factors that go in. Every utility is unique in Indiana, and that it's what you're billing out, all the costs that you're billing out, and your user fee are directly related to the cost of producing water and delivering water to your customers in a safe and proper form. You know, if money doesn't go to the town money doesn't go into the utility, it's just the cost for this town of producing water. And each town is different. Cities and towns that have more customers can divide those costs over more people, and their rates are always cheaper. You know, I can produce a schedule for you of surrounding communities and what they pay for a minimum rate of 4,000 gallons. I can have that at your next meeting. If you'd like to see that, but I always go back, it's like comparing the car payment, you know. But people like to see that, they really do like to see what other people are paying, and I'd be glad to produce that.
Well, I know Rockville had a rate increase, but I don't know how that reflects.
Oh, I don't know, did they?
Yeah, I don't remember how much it was though.
I didn't
Steve
know.
might know, I don't know.
I didn't know they did.
Going back to
I
that.
have those rates, I didn't bring with me, but I have those rates they gave me. I did a rate increase before this for Rockville, and then they went ahead and increased rates a year later again, and trying to produce more money, I think, for the replacement program. But I can put a list together for you of what the communities are in the county and what they're paying, and to give you an idea on water, both on the minimum at 4,000 gallons, and any other community that you'd like to add to that list. Just email me and say, hey, can you bring that to the next meeting? And these are the cities and towns we'd like to see.
Okay.
And I'll put it together.
Looking at this, the consumer has the ability to temper that rate by, if I see the break-even rate on 4,000 is $75, and I look down at 3,000 gallons, $57, they have the ability to make or have an effect on that. And I think that's a good thing for them to know.
They do, and generally when we raise water rates or sewer rates, I bring in a 2 or 3 page list of ways that you can save water, you know, and they're easy things to anybody can do, you know, and but what it really comes down to is that it's hard to save water because you're used to using a lot of water, and it's easy to do and it's convenient to do. Water is really very, very inexpensive anyway. I always say that I could go to almost any place in Indiana, and I can say that in that town or that city, that they're selling 100 gallons of water for less than $1. And what other commodity could you get 100 gallons of delivered to your door, certified by the state that it's safe and potable for $1? I mean, it's just, you know, you go to the local convenience store and you buy a bottle of water and it's $1.50 or $2. You could have gotten 200 gallons of water instead, if you were a person from the local utility.
Now, our meter, we don't have refundable deposits, they don't go back. It's a hookup fee. So that money that we have sitting in that account, could we designate that towards new meters?
No. The money you collected, and you can talk to your attorney about that, as a water deposit.
It's not a deposit,
Okay.
it's a hookup fee.
So a hookup fee goes to anything.
We don't,
So there's generally both a hookup fee or a connection fee and a deposit.
no, we don't do a deposit, we just do a hookup fee for every new customer.
I'm going to.
Which she had, the previous clerk had it labeled as a meter deposit, and I just never changed it, but it's a hookup fee.
I don't see in your rate ordinance where you have a deposit listed, and you'd have to have a deposit listed to charge it, because you can only charge a fee that's in your rate ordinance. You can't charge anything that's not in your rate ordinance. And you may have had a previous rate ordinance that I don't have access to that says there's a deposit, but you're telling me you're not charging a
It's in the
deposit.
rate thing, new customers setup fee, $35.
Yeah, and that's a setup fee, and you're right, you can use that for anything that you want, but that's not a deposit, and you're absolutely right.
Right, so that's what I say, so we've got that money sitting there, we
So-
should use
so the
that
hookup,
as.
Kathy,
You just wanna make sure that
So
you
that's
have not
money that we-
collected that money as deposit at any point in the past.
So Kathy,
You have a contractual
That
obligation.
hookup fee, that's a non-refundable fee then, is that right?
Right, it's non-refundable.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's to get you turned on, to get your, set up in the computer system, get everything switched over, that's what it is.
So you're absolutely right, you could transfer that money to anything, you could transfer that money to your depreciation fund and start to fund your depreciation fund.
'Cause then
Yeah, I've just left it alone, I just built on it, I've not done anything with that.
I would recommend that you have a motion or a resolution to do that, and the town council votes on it, and then you put it in the minutes, so when state board of accounts comes in and sees that change on your books, that they understand that it was due to a motion by the town council. But that's a brilliant idea, absolutely, and a good one.
Okay. I mean, if that's what you guys wanna do, but I mean, yeah, because it's just sitting there not, it's just floating, is
Well,
what
if
it's
you're gonna put in
doing.
depreciation, we need to do a resolution creating depreciation before you do that.
Yeah.
And you ought to do that by resolution, because the SBOA likes those resolutions. Whereas your motion to transfer is fine, but creating the actual
Okay.
fund.
Gotta have
needs
the
to be
fund
paper.
first.
Yeah. Makes them feel warm and fuzzy when they see those.
Yeah, it's good of you.
Now, what happens if, because we buy our bulk water from another town, so if their fees increase, then does that mean we need a new study? Or is that like a cushion somewhere that's going to, what you've kind of got listed out?
So there are a couple different types of rate increases. One is called a general rate increase, and that's what you're doing here. You're looking at all of your expense and expenditure items and determine what they are and set up a budget for the future. There's another thing you can do that's done when you're buying water from somebody else and they raise your rates, and that's called a wholesale water tracker or a purchased water tracker. And then we only increase your rates and charges for the increase that's passed from you to your supplier of water. And then we can do that. So, and I would recommend that they're required to give you 30 days notice before their public hearing, just like you're required to give 10 days notice. And in writing, because you're outside of their town limits, and they have to notify you of that public hearing so you can be heard as well. And that gives you time also to be able to calculate what the increase should be for a tracker and put that in place so you're not caught between what you build into your rates to pay for purchased water and what you're actually paying for purchased water.
And then that way too, you've got a way for state boards to see what the difference of what we're paying,
Yeah.
they can tell better from
Yeah.
that fund.
Yeah, all the state board council want to see is the rate ordinance and then your billing rates, and make sure that the rate ordinance is the rate you're billing and that you're actually billing out the rates that were authorized by the council. And then you follow the state procedure to raise your rates and charges.
Okay.
And our meters that we replaced, we've been good on getting warranty on a lot of those. Partial warranties. So I
Partial
haven't-
warranty,
So I
yeah.
haven't had to pay full price, that's been a plus.
But we're gonna hit that 10-year
But I've been working
window.
off of the ones we have.
Yeah,
And as ones that come up bad, we send them in.
right.
So that is a plus.
But the bad thing is, it's a credit, you don't get,
Well, then I buy new ones.
yeah,
The tag comes off the new ones.
right.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, you're forced to buy new ones based on
Right,
credit.
right.
Thoughts?
Well, I mean, it kind of sounds like we need to do something because we're losing.
Yeah.
And prices for us to keep fixing stuff is not getting any cheaper.
I brought an example rate ordinance, based on 3-year rates, if you want to look at that. And that would be the type of ordinance that you'd have to introduce to start the process.
These are all the same.
Yeah, all the same as property copies. Oh, I'm sorry.
What was that?
Is that might be the original one?
That's it, original.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just had that in my board. That's when you change rates for the URT reduction.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just-
Do you find many that are hitting the 4,000 gallon, or is there any way of just generalizing it?
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, 30, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 38. There's 38 that just did that I built out over, right at 4,000 and above. So,
Out of 155, 153? I didn't think we hit that 4,000 as
so
an average.
rest of them between 2. We have a lot of 2s because there's single or just, elderly couples. But like we have one person in town that's, one person, they use 6,100 gallons of water a month.
How much?
6,100 gallons, and I don't understand what she does with it. I'm like, I don't want to pay that. Mine's that much, but I have to do testing and stuff at home, so.
A rate increase of this amount, as we look 3 to 5 years, what do we need to be aware of? Is it another rate study in 3 to 5 years, or just?
Yeah, because of another budget, you should look to see what changed. It would be, you wouldn't be able to use it, anything except maybe the replacement schedule
Nick, did you want to see
from,
this?
from the previous schedule. You know, this is probably why we're looking at. Yeah, it's just setting your budget again every 3 to 5 years.
Okay. Well, I like the idea of connecting any outside increasing costs by our supplier directly through here, and I don't know how you go about writing that.
That would, there's really no way to do that until it happens, and because you don't know what the amount's gonna be. And then you just contact me and say, Steve, we want to do a tracker, this is the amount of the increase, and then I need the previous year's water consumption that you purchased from them. I calculate them out, and take the rate study, I give you a rate that we had to add on to the tracker. And do another ordinance like this one, and then one item on it, and be a purchase water tracker. And then we add that on to the previous rates and charges, everybody's previous charges, they put that one additional charge per thousand.
Is that in the form of ordinance, or is that in the meter rate?
It'd be just like what you did there, you'd advertise it and then you'd adopt it and it'd be implemented.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're saying we don't start the tracker now, even though we're already paying it now? It's
Well,
only if there's
But
an increase.
we haven't seen an increase.
I know.
from
So
the-
the.
We can't charge for anticipation.
You're better off getting the number right on what the increase is, because you may be
Yeah.
low on what you're estimating.
I've got built into these rates, the current amount that you're paying.
So that way, if it changed, it came on, then we have that, still that open gate where we can go ahead and reflect on that new pricing. Okay.
So you just contact me whenever you got notice, the first time you got notice from the customer that your purchase supplier, they're gonna increase your rates and charges. I make that calculation.
Okay.
So what you really need to decide is if you want to use a 3-year or a 5-year rate increase, is what
Exactly.
you really need to decide.
The 3 years, a 27% increase, and the 5-year is,
31.
that's right, 31. Yep, exactly. And if you pick the 3-year, it's frugal, it gets additional customers, it may be able to last 5 years on the 3-year rates, but I would recommend picking the 3-year.
Yeah, but if things might get cheaper.
That's right, you might have, let's hope.
That's good.
People spend
And should we have, which we don't have very many, should our businesses have a different rate structure? Or since we don't have very many, and then we have an Airbnb in town, because someone sent that through on our clerk treasurer thing the other day, on the Airbnb rates compared to residential rates.
We're selling water on a per 1,000-gallon basis, and the more 1,000 gallons of units that you use, the more you're paying. So your commercial customers would have pretty similar demand characteristics as your residential customers, small businesses. So we don't usually set up for water utilities a separate rate for
And
businesses.
I didn't think so, so I was surprised when they were questioning that with the
I'm
Airbnb.
surprised to see that too. An
So
Airbnb
that made me wonder, because she
would be
said,
like a residence here and have a similar load characteristics of any other resident.
because that's what she said, what do you guys do for Airbnbs and your businesses? Do you charge them a business rate? And I'm thinking, we don't do anything.
We don't have a business rate, so.
So,
Usually, I see that more in multifamily homes or apartment complexes or things like that, more so than like Airbnb or things like that.
and no one responded to her, so I didn't get an answer.
So water and sewer utilities generally don't have commercial and residential classes of customers. Electric utilities generally do. You'd see an electric utility rate that would be a commercial as well as a residential institutional. For water and sewer, that's not typical in Indiana.
Like Rockville has theirs separate for their electric versus the other ones. They're done differently.
Well, I'd be more comfortable looking at that 3-year,
That's what I was thinking.
Which one, Kevin?
the 3.
3, yes.
Go 3, and then that way we'll know kind of where we're
It's
kind
been
of.
so long since we've done this. What year did you say that you had done that
Was
last
it
year?
13 before we did a reduction in 22 for the URT reduction, but I think before that it was 2013. So it has been a while,
10 years.
longer than most people.
I thought there was one in 2016, I think.
Was it 2016?
Because something changed here on modified ordinance 2016, but I don't know.
Where's the, this rate ordinance would say in the
I
last
thought
one
I
was.
kept a copy in the bill went in here, but I guess I don't anymore. I must be afraid I'd get them confused.
I'm gonna use it, so,
Oh, here.
you got it?
But the current one. That you have.
Well, I looked here in the back, is this dated the 28th of 2016?
I would say it was probably 2016 because you had debt issued in 2016 and it's very rare that
The
you
water
actually
rates and
debt.
charges,
About 3 weeks of rates and charges, yeah.
Okay,
So,
So,
so this must be the old one, I'm just gonna have to do it.
we're 7 years out.
and then you reduced rates by 1.4% in 2022 due to the reduction in URT tax.
Right.
Yeah, they're not down.
What year was that reduction?
2022.
Yeah, last
Came
year.
effective July 1st, 2000.
July. So you could look, see, this is May, so look at putting these in effect for, well, if you put them in effect July, then it wouldn't go in effect till August since we bill a month behind.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
If you want to start the process and you're happy with the 3-year rates, you can introduce that rate ordinance that you have in front of you. And that would start the process, and then you can set up your next, council meeting date to be the public hearing.
We'd have to advertise the next
Right.
one's the public hearing.
Right.
So this rate ordinance would need to just be introduced tonight, is that what you're
Which
saying?
means that you make a
We need to
motion
assign a
to
number to it.
introduce them first, exactly, assign a number to it.
I don't know what number we're
I
at.
don't either, we've done some other ordinances this year, haven't we? I'd have to look.
Yes, we have, yeah, I don't mind. 1 or 2 of them.
I could put it in my notes afterwards.
So I would be looking then for a motion on
2023,
this
yeah.
ordinance, correct?
After the 3-year rate study.
Yes, for the 3-year rate study. And that's the one you should have before you.
The 3-year rate was 27%, is that right?
Yes.
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 27.
So do I have a motion for that ordinance, and I don't have the number yet, but
I make a motion that we go ahead and set it at a 3-year rate, just
for the ordinance.
per ordinance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion that we use the ordinance as it's been prepared by Steve for a 3-year rate increase. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So then you'd want Kathy to sign at the next available ordinance number and to publish notice in the paper with that it's gonna be considered at the next meeting.
Okay,
So I would write the public notice for you. All you need to do is to send me an email and say what the date and time is of your next meeting. So I'd have that, and then I'd send you back the next day or two a Word copy of a public notice. And I'll mention to you that you should probably show that to your local attorney. Otherwise, I do this 40 times a year, and it's the same stuff over and over.
It's
I'm not an attorney, so you might.
I'm the attorney.
You're the attorney? Okay.
Yeah.
thank
I'm
you.
just not dressed in my.
That's why we keep looking at him.
I'm not practicing law here, I want you to know that.
Nice things, Steve.
so we need to sign off on this that we just adopted.
That's fine.
We need to sign this.
No, because you're not actually gonna adopt it till the next meeting. You've
Okay.
just introduced it, you've read it into the
She
record.
just needs to put an ordinance.
If you have a
number.
business card, I'll send you the public notice.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then at that time,
Send to you
is
Word
that
format, so you
when we
can
do the
review it,
depreciation
Change anything you want. Thank you very
fund,
much.
put that in the
Very much
ordinance?
notice.
Once we adopt, at the same time that we adopt this?
Well, he would have to come up.
You will actually sign it. What are you asking me?
When do we put that depreciation fund?
So that's gonna be a resolution I'm gonna
It'll be
prepare.
resolution. You'll
and,
get
you
it,
can
so it'll
adopt it
happen
the
at the
next
same
meeting.
time?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
You don't have to publish that or anything like that. That's just a
yeah.
resolution.
I just didn't want that piece to get missed, that we
Yeah.
didn't sign off that we.
No, that won't be a problem to have it by then. I already have one of those. I just need to
Okay.
change out information in.
Okay.
Or with depreciation, that would be our meters. Do we want to use that account that we were talking about, switching that over to that account?
I would just create an entry in your budget that has depreciation fund and use that instead of having it be converted. Because you're gonna have a meter fund in the future that comes in, you may not wanna put all of that in depreciation.
But we could move some over in to get that.
Yeah, so what would happen is that we create the depreciation fund, we pass the resolution creating it next meeting. And then after it's created and you guys assign the resolution, you guys verbally vote to authorize her to transfer a certain amount of funds to that fund from the meter fund. But I would keep the meter fund.
But we need to get this renamed first.
No, I wouldn't rename the meter fund at all. I would just create a new fund that's a depreciation fund.
And we
Leave the
move-
meter fund.
We're gonna do some.
And when the meter money comes in, it can still go in the meter fund, because you may not want all your meter money to be in depreciation. You may
Right.
want it to go somewhere else.
I might want to just take this working off of here,
Which is,
deposits.
Yeah, you need
Yeah,
to change that.
because
to
you don't have
deposit.
deposits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can just change that without any
Yeah,
problem.
you don't have deposits, you guys have.
Right.
It's a fee.
Yeah, I'd put it as a hookup fee,
I'll just change that whole thing.
yeah.
okay. Anything else for Steve?
We're not done yet?
Well, we appreciate it.
Good to see everybody again. Good to see you again, Nick.
Yeah.
If you can send me an email on the date and time of your next meeting when you help.
Okay, we'll do.
I'll send Nick a form, a public notice that he can amend and revise to make it legal. And we'll all be good.
Okay.
Do you want me to publish it, Kathy, or do you want me to have you publish it?
You can send if you want to, just tell them to bill me,
That's fine.
unless they want to bill you and then you bill me,
Doesn't matter to me.
doesn't matter to me.
Good to see you again.
They'll bill somebody, I'm sure.
Take care,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nick, we're up to you.
Couple things. As you know, we had our hearing when the Stanleys with the concrete across the street. They didn't show up. We had service on them, so the judge entered a judgment by default against them in our favor. So now there's a judgment. I think it's $2,350, and that was the cost to repair the concrete from when they ran over it with the dump truck, or the dump truck, concrete truck. So that gains interest at 8% per year. The next thing to do on that is once 30 days pass, we can bring them back to court and I can ask them questions under oath about their finances in order to try to collect on our judgment. So we have a judgment now. It's just a matter of how do we collect. You can do that a number of ways. You can garnish money, you can put liens on things, you can levy bank accounts. But you don't really know that until you know what they have. I know they own some real estate, at least I believe they do, but I'll get more information once I get them back to the judge. So if they don't show up for that and we have service on them, judge can issue a body attachment, which is a warrant for their arrest. So hopefully they'll take it seriously and they'll be there. But you know, at this point, I don't know if they will or not. So Houston's also did not appear for their ordinance violation. Judge entered a judgment against them as well. Same process I just talked about. I will tell you that he did contact my office and is on my calendar for later this week, so there might be some hope for resolution there, but I don't know what he's going to say to me necessarily. I know he's going to ask me what all he needs to clean up probably, so I haven't been down by that property, so I don't know if you guys have input on what you want me to tell him or not. But, yeah, but I mean, I don't know specifics. I assume the yard's tall. I assume there's
Roof's caving in. on
roofs
her.
caving in.
We've got a big pile of debris out back that's got a couch in it and.
Okay, I know it's down here, right
Yeah.
on the main street, but
The 8%, how do they determine?
that's an Indiana code statutory maximum. So, which is pretty much the standard on judgment creditors. It goes up every so often, but it hasn't a lot. But anyway, so I think it's either tomorrow or Thursday I'm supposed to meet with him. If you'd like, I can direct him to come to our next meeting, but I don't know what the board's preference on that is or not. So, but right now there's a judgment against him. So, and the way that statute reads is for each day they're in violation, we can get additional fines for that. I'll tell you, Judge Swain typically hits them with the initial fine, and then every so often he'll up it. So we had one where the guy owed $30,000 to the county because he just refused to fix up his property. But then it burnt to the ground, so.
Yeah.
But the goal not being to own somebody's property, the goal being that you live inside town, you know, you have neighbors, they have property, they have values to their property, and, you know, be a good neighbor, so.
It would not be my intent just to bring him in and embarrass him. I'm not sure that the second one financially, has it, but he had told me personally that his intent is to tear it down, but that's been 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, if you do that, that'd solve that problem.
Yes.
As long as the lot got all cleaned up.
So I guess I can hear him out and see what his plan is and report back.
Since it's under contract, how does the original owner fit into all this, or do they at all?
We could go after the original owner as well. A lot of times that's, you know, you go after both because the hope is one of them will correct the,
Right.
but they both have a property interest in the property.
Right.
So right now we have a judgment against Houston, so.
Okay.
So if he doesn't come back, if he doesn't appear again, then can we go after the actual property owner?
I could, yeah, if I have information on them.
That's his mother, isn't it?
Mm-mm,
Not that house.
mm-mm,
We're talking right down here,
mm-hmm,
Billy's house.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought it was his mother,
No, it's,
Linda Hartman,
Hartman.
there you go.
that's his mom?
No,
I
He's
think
not-
it is.
She's not have said yes, but I didn't think it was, because she had a couple kids.
I thought that was his mother.
It has her address on the thing.
She from Waveland?
I don't think so.
I know one
I
time.
haven't looked at it in a while.
I'd say look at service on Houston because he was in jail for something else. So, it's not always easy to get service on people. But. And then Brady was able to post on the front door, which is good enough for our hearing portion as well. So he had actual knowledge, but he also had a sheriff posted.
yeah,
So.
This is not him. I thought I saw her name on there.
this one's talking about Chadwell. but-
Oh, that's
yeah.
Nick. Where? Where are you at?
So there's the church. Is it that one right there? Yeah, I think
And sometimes they don't hit right.
there it is.
Who's that?
Hartman.
Yeah, that's her. What address does it have?
Box 74, or 75 Marshall, Indiana, so I had this on here.
Then that must be
140
her
North
address.
Main Street. But this used to state that it was being bought under contract. Am I on the wrong
Go,
house?
no, go up to the property card and see who's paying taxes.
A lot of times I get service on who I can get service on.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we certainly could go after anybody else with a property interest also. And we're doing that on another property that's coming up.
It shows her name on here as the owner.
Okay,
And
it does, doesn't it? But in the description, previously, it had his name purchasing another contract. I don't see it there.
Yeah, but he may have very well gone in there and changed it after this all happened to try to avoid the judgment, but,
Okay.
there's not any taxes paid on it
and
since
so it may come,
2021.
yeah, so it'd probably come up for tax sale then. Which,
You need a house?
sure, as you know though, that municipalities can have tax sale properties transferred to them if they're within their jurisdiction. But that's what we did with this property over here. So if it does come up for tax sale, that's something we could do, and then we could sell it to somebody that would fix it.
I know a guy that cleans up properties.
So I mean, it's beyond repair. It's-
But, so that might be something when the tax sales come out in September, October-ish to watch, and
So
if it's on the
I
list.
always look to see who is in town so I
Yeah.
can keep up on them.
Because then we could ask the commissioners to assign the tax sale to us, and then we could do what we did with the house over here. Not that that's been a perfect resolution, but
Yeah.
we do have court coming up. I think it's in 2 weeks. Let me see. No, next week on Carver's and Rainwaters. That's the house down here on the corner. Carver was selling it to Rainwaters.
No, Rainwater's mine. Carver is,
Oh, yeah, your small claims, okay.
yeah.
Well, Carver's the one on the corner there,
Yeah.
so we have court on it next Tuesday. I had talked to him, he was selling it on contract to somebody and was trying to get them to clean it up, and they haven't done that to my view. I don't know if you guys
But
disagree
the
or
chicken
not.
coop looks like it's empty, and they're tearing it down or something when I went by there last. So
Oh, I
I'm
seen
wondering-
what they, is that what they were putting in up there? Cause is that where somebody was
No.
saying they were wanting a,
They put a little garage
Garage,
there,
yeah.
but no, there's a chicken coop back there in the back that looked like they was trying to tear it down.
They were cited for the chickens, and they had a hog running at large or something.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
being
But that was
housed
a,
at another location right now.
that was
She
a
said it's
misdemeanor
gonna be-
case, though, that wasn't our case, but the chickens was.
Right.
But I think there was some other parts to that as far as the property that needs cleaned up too, so. But since then, it looks like they have a bunch of tree limbs and stacked debris and stuff too.
Well, they cut some walnut trees down there, and I just talked to the homeowner the night next door to them, and they're probably in quarter with that. She claims those are her trees they cut down.
Well, whoever's living there is not the Carvers, it's somebody else. And they came to one of these meetings.
They came to the meeting up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember what their name was, but I was informed that he's suing them as to their contract to purchase it, so I don't know if that's
Right.
true or not, but.
She's since gotten remarried, so she has a different last name.
But, so that's coming up next week. King's got cleaned up, so we dismissed it. The house over here, I can't remember the name, I was just talking to Brady about. I updated you guys on that the last meeting as far as the ownership in it. And
She's not even living there.
Franklin
I
House?
think, so.
Franklin, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's dead, and there's no ownership interest in anybody's name still. That's still where it's at currently. So if that changes, I can update you on that.
I was given a new address for her
Yeah.
a couple days ago.
She returns my phone calls. I mean, I don't have trouble with her.
Okay.
It's just the property's what it is right now, so, and we talked about that last meeting, so.
wouldn't somebody have to claim it though? I mean, if he's gone, it's abandoned then.
It's abandoned, we could go after it, there's, some statutes as to the dilapidated, I never say that word, dilapidated, decrepit, falling down houses that you can do, but the problem is that if you do that, somebody has to clean it up, and somebody has to foot the expense for cleaning it up,
Okay.
and that's where the problem comes.
And then
Yeah.
it goes back as a lien.
Right, but if it went through tax sale, and I don't know if they're current on their taxes or not, but it'd be the same process we talked about on the Houston property. You know, it could be transferred to the town, it could be sold to somebody to clean it up, to pay the judgments against it. But, so I think those are the main cases we have pending in court right now, unless I'm missing one.
You mentioned the house next door. I contacted that owner because last year he talked about getting a contractor in there to redo that house in the fall. Well, that came and went. Contacted him today. He said he's working with a contractor to start repairs during June. Start repairs on that house during the month of June. And he will keep the grass mowed until that time. He always responds to me. I think he has the ability to take care of it. He just hasn't done it.
But anyway, that's why I had updates on. If you have questions about any other properties, let me know.
Okay. Brady?
There's that time sheet,
Okay.
and then the car's already there, so,
Okay, for the repair?
yeah.
Um,
They said it'd be about a week and a half, 2 weeks, so
Okay.
maybe a little low on hours this month without in the car.
We got the quote from Peterson's. I don't know, remember how far you were into this. We talked last time about whether or not to file an insurance claim. Kathy talked to our agent. His recommendation was, don't file it. Go ahead and pay for it. So we operated on that recommendation from him, and Brady then took care of getting the car over here to Peterson's to get it fixed.
Okay.
And I have training records too.
Okay, yeah. We'll get that.
Taxes.
So we'll just cancel the insurance on the car then?
You know,
'Cause that's how I feel about it.
yeah.
If we're not gonna use it, we're paying it, cancel it.
Well, I think there's some school of thought, though, if you use it, you'll end up
Not always.
seeing an increase.
That is true. There's a chance for an increase. That's not always true, though, Kevin.
Well, in my experience, it has been.
If you take a 5% rate increase due to a claim at renewal, you'll pay more than $600 when you collect.
So evidently that insurance has ended up and does have an increase. Because I mean, I've had the same, but I've always had the State Farm and it didn't.
Well, I had a couple claims, I never raised my own insurance.
But, and it's hard to
Been
get
a while
health
since I had
insurance, too,
teenagers
isn't
at
it?
home,
We
so-
used to be at
I used to
Braden's, we
get
left
one speeding
Braden's,
ticket
right?
Yeah, there is not
regular,
any.
and they
All right,
never
that's what I
arrested
said,
me,
you're
but
kinda,
I haven't got one in a while.
I had one they wanted to cancel, but I had no policy. But I luckily had the kid on, so they couldn't cancel it because it was non-cancelable.
Yeah.
So,
So I made the decision to go ahead and
okay.
go by what our agent recommended, so that we can get that taken care of.
We're not gonna drive around dented up, are we?
I'm sorry.
So we're not gonna drive around dented up, are we?
Well, no, I hope not.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. We're gonna fix it.
Do we have anything else?
do you use the Microsoft stuff that's in that car?
No,
Okay, why?
the Microsoft, because printer. I
Because of
wouldn't,
what?
I wouldn't have a way to print it.
But you can email it. Can't you?
Like,
Jeff used it all the time. Because I have a subscription from my office and he had one. And there's two separate login things because I can't get into what he would get in. But he used it and I don't know, and I got to think the other day, you never asked for a password or anything for it. And I didn't know if he gave that all to you and I thought,
no, yeah.
I wondered why you don't use that.
Yeah, I just use it, so I have my own laptop, I just do it on that, and then I just email it to my email, print it out to jail. All the paperwork.
And that may have been what he did. I don't know. But he hand wrote the ordinances because I got a copy of them. He'd always lay them on my desk. And I had a copy of the ordinance for us. But then, so he hand wrote those, but tickets and things I never saw.
Yeah, no, I just give those, I handwrite those too.
Yeah, he
So-
dropped them off at the office. But he can just, I mean, if he has a way to scan an email, or he can screenshot it, or take a picture of it and send it to me, I can use it that way too. We
So
did that on
We
the
don't necessarily
service
need
part.
that subscription then. I mean, I have the
I-
passwords and
I
stuff
don't use
for
it.
it.
I don't use it, so you can cancel it.
Just it's coming up for renewal and I don't know if I had to pay for two separate or if it included both of them.
Yeah, you can cancel it. I don't use that, I don't even have the passwords to it.
You told me that Ramey gave you a copy of the ordinance violation because we used a triplicate form.
Yeah, there
or-
are the forms I got for him in there.
Are you using
Yeah,
those?
I've been leaving them on the desk.
Okay,
I have not gotten one from you.
In that little folder where all the new ones are, that's where I put them. And then I give them to him.
In the box, there's a box in front of the radio where the ordinances are. They're
I've been-
long, they're long, about this long.
That's where I've been sitting them.
They're in that box?
Yeah. I've been sitting them in there.
Okay, I haven't seen them in there. Okay, I'll go back and look in there.
okay.
Yeah, because he has all the copies too. If you make a copy,
Okay.
if you can't find them.
And I think everything's been filed, unless there's something I didn't talk about.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page, that the paperwork is being, passed.
Yeah, I didn't
Sure.
know.
So I've been forwarding anything that comes through judgment-wise just
Yeah,
to
it
her.
forwards to
by
me and I
email.
print it off, yeah.
So she has a copy.
Okay. Do you have any updates on anything that you're working on here in town that you can talk about, or?
Not that I can really talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you made a visit down here and never
Yeah.
got anywhere.
Yeah.
I understand from the Ryan girl that she came and got the dog. and
Yeah, the dogs are gone.
Are gone.
Yeah. So
Which-
gotta complain about that. The dogs. She got back with me and she came and got the dogs.
Okay.
So out of the house.
Good enough. Anything else? Anything else from Brady?
Glad to see you here.
Yep.
No, the only thing I got is, did we ever get the dog park?
That's what I was just getting ready to ask Nick.
'Cause that'll
You
be a
have that
new
ordinance
ordinance
the dog
for you.
park.
Which one is
I
it?
forgot, sorry about that.
And you were going with the signs.
I found signs for it. I
Okay,
just haven't
so
ordered
he
them.
got his part done.
It's just, and they already pre-made, you just order
Do we need also, I would ask you, signs for my office that says something about town hall, town office or something? Because I've had different
Nice.
people ask me.
It'd be very nice to have that with our address.
You'd
Yeah.
have like a- need to have like a sign made, kind of put out front.
Where would they do it down there?
Probably Mecca could do that. I don't know much about the quality, that they do. I don't know.
I added that as a reminder.
You know when the sign out is, I don't know if both Darla and Dale been updated on that sign coming back? The one that got ran through?
No.
I did do a report on that too.
Okay. The
Which
Kathy
was-
is,
It was done by a police officer that morning, right?
Yeah, but I
You
did
know-
one for the town too.
Okay, it was all paid and I got both checks, so we're good to go. I got the
she's
sign
working with that
order.
insurance company and
Yeah, they, fastest I've ever gotten a check, and I've already got it half paid, and they're supposed to give me a call when
It's
they,
not State Farm, is it?
huh?
It's not State Farm.
Nope.
is it?
It's all state.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I even got a separate one for cleanup.
I used to work for personal injury law firm, so State Farm was fun.
I think he's on a revolving door with them, from what I gather. So yeah, she said they called me and get here to get it cleaned,
When's the new sign getting made?
they called me,
Don't call.
so I don't know. when
Same
parts-
place last time,
Huh?
same outfit make the sign
Yeah,
again.
I got a hold of them and got a quote.
Okay.
and- Yeah, and same guy, he'll be up there. Now, we'll have to watch where we put it, because I don't know if there's cement in there, we may have to move it over a little bit. But, and there's fiber optic runs through there, so we'll have to watch our placement this next go around.
Okay.
But they're gonna call me when it all gets in and everything, and go from there.
worked with UMAC today. Mike Jones stopped by yesterday, said there's lots of water running west of town. UMAC has worked over there where Mike and Kathy Heiberger, and they're experiencing quite a bit of water in some places and didn't know where it was coming from. Thought they had a water leak. Well, Mike Jones is having trees taken down along the railroad, and you come back this way, kind of behind where Samantha Gregg lives. There's water coming out of the bank there by the railroad and running right down the railroad into a tile. So the thought that we had when we looked at it today, Ronnie and I, was it's getting into that field tile and headed straight west, and it's probably has an effect on the water that they've been seeing standing. We did a chlorine test on it. It did show residual chlorine in both the water in front of Heiberger's and then all the way back up here by Samantha Gregg's. Have no idea where the leak is, what it's from. We're not showing huge amount of use, but when you go down there, you see water flowing. I mean, it's not just trickling; it's flowing into that field.
So it's coming from the east going west then.
It's coming from the east and going west.
Well, Samson comes through their property, the horse lot and everything, goes across the road in that field, and they had to come in and tile that field. So she's wondering if there's not a tile broken, and it goes on out to their driveway, to Heiberger's driveway.
Well, I saw them digging up at Heiberger's yard the other day.
She said it's gotten worse over the years, but she said you'll have just a little run going through there with the heavy rain, just running across that.
How would the water, I mean,
Well, I've been told for years that there was a tile put in by Kraft, from the Kraft plant down the edge of the railroad, all the way past Heiberger's, because there was a pond out there. And now, I don't know what they sent through that tile, but there was like a holding pond or a settling pond out
so
there.
that water could actually be coming from anywhere up here
But to be drinking water.
on down.
And getting into that tile, and it just so happens, they have probably disturbed enough of the soil by taking those trees out, that it's now coming out where we can see it, rather than following that tile on down. But it's got chlorine in it, so it is definitely
Right.
drinking water. So, talking to Ronnie, he's gonna get a hold of the, American Water Association, who is it that they're?
Rural Lions?
Yeah, Lions, and bring them in and listen for
Because I was
leaks.
wondering, somebody to
It's
come
not
in
a
and
cost to
listen.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
something that they belong to, and so they're gonna come and listen for that. as soon as he can get them here.
It almost sounds like it's drain water, because she said it gets worse when it rains.
Well, it would
That
be,
makes
Yeah, like a combination.
it would be both, I would
Mhm.
guess, because you would have that in that tile.
But she said this has been going on for 5 to 10 years out there.
I don't
Water.
see,
And not just, it's not just since they started that, they've had problems before,
yeah,
but I think it's getting worse. But, and with the taking the trees out, it may have made it a lot worse.
yeah. Well, none of that is ours, none of that tile,
Yeah.
none of that railroad, none of that is ours. Only thing I'm concerned about is we're losing drinking water.
It's at our water.
It is our water that's flowing through.
Somewhere it's got point.
Your daily readings are what, about 23,000 you told me today?
Yeah, 23,000.
So we're not seeing a huge leak, because at our best, we were probably 17.
Yeah.
So, we're 6,000 gallon, which,
Which we've got some things going on to justify that,
yeah.
so.
So we're looking into that, and we'll have to wait and see what that guy comes up with when he brings out listening device. Now, my thought was, when Bloomingdale Tel came in here to put that line into the bank for the fiber optics, they drilled right through the middle of the main there.
Yeah, but I
Well,
thought they had that fixed.
They fixed that, and we left it open for 24 hours to make sure that it was fine before it was covered back up. Don't know that it's not fine, we just know that there's water getting into that tile. There's a tile running under the driveway of the firehouse, but it starts on the east side and is open on the west side, so it has nothing to do with that original tile. It's just a drain to get it under that asphalt.
So where's that drain going in the middle of the parking lot of the firehouse?
It just empties out into the railroad bed, just west of the grass. You can just, if you walk over there to the west of the
Really?
asphalt, there's just the empty, you can see the tile. Yeah, it just drains
That
in.
drain out in the middle is a lot lower than what that is on the west side, looks like to me.
It's deep enough that, where you're standing, the tile's down about that far, but so's the railroad bed. It's down. So,
It still doesn't make any sense on where the water.
where the water's coming from? No, I don't have a clue. So, you bring me up to speed on that. Tom, you have anything for us?
Yeah, we got 2 things headed our way. It's going to affect us in the future. One is PFAS, which are chemicals that stay around and don't go away, like Teflon, that kind of thing. EPA published their notice in the National Register last week. They've got a limit of 4 parts per trillion. So basically, if you can see it, if you got, and very few labs right now are set up to even analyze for it, but they've got till the end of May for comments and things, so basically, we're gonna have some more testing to do. We've done 1 round of testing for free, which the state paid for. We don't show any. Bloomingdale doesn't show any, so hopefully, we don't have to, worry about having to do something with it. But it'll be a yearly, or that's what they're saying right now, either annual or twice a year sampling to verify you don't have it. So that's something, coming up. The other thing is the lead line inventory that they're talking about. They've come up with a template. The state has come up with a template. Basically, there's 8 boxes in this spreadsheet that need filled out that are required, and probably another 20 of them that you can, fill in if you want. That'll be due October 16th of 2024. So we've got some time to, put that all together. But basically, each connection is to be verified that there's no lead either going to the house or from the meter into the house. And if they're not verified that it's not then you've got to come up with a plan of either how you're gonna verify that it isn't, or if it is lead lined, what you're gonna do about it. But like I say, that's a year and a half away yet, but something that's straight out there. I did send the Tom and Marshall the template that they've got out there that they're proposing, so.
So if it's on the resident's side of the meter, we can say, we will not sell you water until that's repaired? Is that the way?
I'm not sure how that's all gonna be handled yet. I mean, this is still
They don't
being
know
formulated. Yeah,
Except the cost of
That's
it,
what I was thinking about the cost of it.
because we're not responsible for
and
it.
the only thing people say is that there's all kinds of money out there that's gonna be, funded toward it, that you can get a hold of to help fix all this stuff.
There's a company that came and talked to Rockville that was talking about software and stuff, but the main questions they were asking about was funding, and they didn't have any answers on the funding side.
I believe Dylan brought this up to us
They
when we were
solicited
talking about,
small towns.
We've been talking about this for a while.
yeah, I remember him saying it was coming down the pipe.
Tom's been talking about it for a while.
Those PFAS, that's the same as what they get the fire departments for that foam.
Right, foam, Teflon, that kind of thing.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
That's all.
Okay. Neighbor,
Hey.
tell us your name.
JD Ireland.
JD, okay.
And as you know, I've been working on the building. We're getting really close. We got a soil sample coming to put the septic in, so hopefully that goes well. So now I'm at y'all's mercy, need y'all's help. So we got to try and get the statute changed for the alcohol license, so I can apply for an alcohol license because the only way I can justify, I'm already $100,000 in on the building. And the only way I justify sales is through alcohol. It's just plain and simple, that's the only way you're gonna make money. Everybody wants a restaurant. That's the consensus here. Everybody wants a restaurant. So
Oh, yeah.
we're willing to do the restaurant side, but we need that alcohol sales. So I want to propose, or whatever I need to do, it's all new to me. It's ain't usually what I handle, but here I am, so.
The conversation you and I had originally was, you were looking at beer and wine. So
No, we want alcohol.
that's not what you and I talked about originally.
That was before I found out they had an alcohol license. So we do have an alcohol license. So now I can get alcohol. Beer and wine, you can make some money off of it.
We're
That's
not
how it
gonna
works
make
out.
that much.
You're talking mixed drinks.
Mm-hmm.
We had the restaurant before that didn't have that, and it was very busy, but,
They didn't spend $100,000 either.
No.
but,
What kind of hours are you looking at as far as
Yeah.
operation and the
That's,
sales?
we wanted to talk to you about that because, like, we don't want people here at 3 o'clock in the morning, nobody does. Typically on the restaurant side, 12 to 1 at the latest. Maybe 1 if we have a band or have something like that going on, something like that. But, we don't want to disrupt the town by any means, we want to help the town at the same time, create a business for ourselves, so. Something, if we can agree on something, we're totally good with that, yeah.
Are you thinking about that on weekends and then like weekdays would be a different?
Yeah, weekdays totally different because everybody knows Marshall shuts down, as soon as it gets dark, so. Weekdays would be strictly pretty much restaurant, usage is what we'll get out of weekdays. Weekends when, we'll have the full bar running. And, music-wise, like I said, we'll have entertainment there, but the way we built it, I don't think the sound's gonna be a real issue because we've got air gaps in between it. We essentially built a pole barn inside of this building, so like it's got post frame inside and everything. If any of you wanna take a look at it and get a sneak peek, I'd be willing to open it up and show you. It's starting to look really good now. From what it looked 6 months ago, it was a mess. But now I'm at that point, so need to try and get the ball rolling. Of course, we want the city behind us on it. We don't want to go against the city on anything. So,
Well, that's quite a jump from our first conversation. I'll just be frank with you. Because you're going from a dry town, a dry community, and taking the largest step you can take.
yeah,
Which means once you have that, Katie by the door on the hours. I mean, whatever works for you. Which is not what we intended at our conversation.
Yeah, and when we first talked about it, we wasn't even sure what we was doing with the building yet.
Right.
We just had ideas, throwing them up there, and that's why I come and talk to the city, council to see, what was kind of the idea here, and everybody wants a restaurant. Well, like I said, the only way to make money these days at it is having alcohol sales. That's plain and simple. I mean, you can make money with a restaurant, but in the small town, that's not enough draw.
Are you gonna offer carry out?
Yeah, we just want to do pizza.
No, I meant carry out alcohol.
No.
And
I
what
got
are
no use
you,
for
what are your
carryout.
plans to keep people from coming out here on the street and hanging out on the street with their bottles and breaking them?
That's
I think that would
against
be-
the law. That's on them.
I'm just asking.
I mean, we will have security. We've already got security lined up for it to control people in and out and whatnot. Like I said, we don't want to disrupt the town. We don't want to, we don't want a biker bar here. That's what.
Well, I mean, you
that's
go
what
to
we get away
36
from.
and you still find beer bottles in the parking lot. Not a lot of them, but, you still find beer bottles that they carry them out and the hog pit on the weekends and.
Right, and that would be on us to clean up and to make sure, I mean, if it got out of control, I mean, obviously, we don't want to trash the town. That's not what we're here for.
But I don't know whether you're going to be here 6 months or 60 years. And once that alcohol license is attached to that address or that business, the next owner may not do what you're saying you will do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a concern. I hear what Kathy's saying. I just think that's quite a leap from our original conversation to tonight, where we're gonna have a full-blown alcohol establishment. 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I don't know.
Would there be an ordinance though that we could do as a town to protect that, so that doesn't
We can
go-
limit, as far as operation, noise level,
operation,
things like
noise
that.
level, and have that
Rockville
in
enacted
place?
one where they limited noise level, and they got input from the 36 as to what they were looking like and things like that, but that's something Rockville did put in place. That's why I was asking time.
Yeah, that's,
and
like,
dates.
I want to work with you on the hours, I
Right.
just can't say, I want to shut down.
And there
at 10,
again, you're in Rockville, 11 o'clock, you can be 3 or 4 blocks away, you can hear the band playing uptown. So, I mean, that's the
But
bad
that,
thing.
a lot of times though, that's
That's a big-
outside though.
Right, they do play their band outside.
Outside.
And they allowed them to, I can't remember what time of night it is, but it's past 11. But that's something that the town regulates, though. I mean, you can regulate noise, you can regulate sales, you can regulate things like that.
Yeah, I think the one in Russellville, I think that their band's allowed to 11 or something like that they regulate.
But, so those are things that you can do, but I mean, once you do authorize sales, though, there could be somebody come in and want to compete with him as far as sales too. And, so that's something to consider as well. I mean, I don't know that they will, but,
Right.
they might.
Yeah, that's stuff I can't control.
Right, yeah. So those are things to consider also. Ability to police people drinking and driving, things like that. That's why I kind of looked at Brady a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
As far as the noise ordinances, unless I worked every night, nobody else would be able to,
Right,
because county officers can't
right.
do that.
I mean, I'm a few blocks away, but Kevin's right next door.
so those would be things you'll have to consider,
Mhm.
as far as if you want to do that. And then, I mean, he and I can try to give you the best advice.
And
we
it is
can.
gonna be an actual bar that, I mean, they can just go walking in and drink in the middle of the afternoon or the evening.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
mean,
was known for.
alcohol sales, yeah, I mean, kind of like the ranch, you got your bar set up in the back area and then your restaurant towards the front of it.
They don't have, I don't think you can walk in and get actual beer. They have craft beers but they're not. If you're comparing to Russellville can get pretty wild over there, and I know some people that go.
Yeah, I go to
So-
Russellville a lot, and we're trying to be a little bit higher.
That's why
class.
then you were comparing it to that, so that's why I'm like, that's why I'm.
Well, I meant demand wise, their
Okay.
music wise.
So you're not thinking it's gonna be a hangout for people to go hang out in the afternoons and like I said,
What's
leave.
the restrictions on alcohol
Yeah,
license? How do you,
Our
what
idea is,
control do we have to that?
Ours would be controlled on the ordinance side of it, but once we open up the alcohol licenses, we're not allowed to discriminate against people as to that. So
That's where the ordinance will end up and have to be, like you said,
you're
We
looking
have to
at
be
enforcement then,
enforcement.
because just because you have a law doesn't mean people abide by. Even if you have enforcement, I mean,
Right.
Brady can't be everywhere at one time, you know, so I mean.
Yeah,
So
'cause
that's,
if I'm working on a weekend at Montgomery County and there's something going on here, no county officer's gonna be able to enforce it.
right.
Unless there's a crime.
Unless there's a crime, but like they won't be able to enforce ordinance violations, like if their
No, it's,
noise
Right.
past,
But you can still write them up for it though, right?
not a county officer can.
But like when you come back, you know, if they report it or whatever.
Yeah, but that'd be you, that would be getting it, because I can't, I wouldn't know. who-
Right, on the establishment, yeah, for breaking the ordinance, yeah. Yeah, like I said, you know, we're not trying to cause a ruckus or anything, it's just, you know, the only way we can make money, we did this in Ohio, and we tried the beer and wine, and it just isn't a draw enough for a small town, especially one under 1,000, you know, that has a population under 1,000, it's even worse. Last one we did, it was a biker bar, we went in and totally redid the place, I think I told you about that, and got rid of the biker club and all that, and cleaned it up. It's doing really well, but we did get the full alcohol sales on that one. They went with beer and wine first, and it wasn't working, and they went reapplied, got the alcohol license. Like I said, this usually ain't my end of it, I usually just build stuff, but because I'm over here,
Right.
the investors are in Ohio, so because I'm over here, it's,
Are you planning on having a bouncer or security?
yeah, we've actually got, I don't know if you know Teresa Cox, she run, Jack's place down at the Lifer Y for years. She's the one that's gonna be managing the whole thing, so really strict and by the numbers girls, she's
What are you thinking on the way of food?
we wanna have a fish night for sure, and then, like, so we wanna have 2 special nights, you know, one in the middle of the week and then one at, of course, Friday night, probably fish
But are you
nights.
talking sandwiches?
Oh,
or
no.
Specials, or are you talking,
No, we wanna do, like a small 10-item menu for the evenings, and then we'll have burgers or something during the days, you know, for lunches or whatnot, stuff like that, but as far as a full menu, we haven't quite got figured out, but we got ideas of what we want. Like I said, we don't want just a typical shop. We are thinking coffee and donuts in the mornings, you know, till noon, have coffee and donuts out of there. And then after that, you know, we'll open up the restaurants out of it.
Now, would that be something that we could monitor though, like alcohol, what time alcohol could be served? So that
Yeah,
way
you
you
can
couldn't do
regulate
it like
that.
in the morning and after such and such time?
Yeah, and we're totally good with that because, you know, most of your sales aren't coming before 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, but you might have somebody that likes to come and say, hey, I'll have a donut, but I like to have that Bloody Mary.
Little
I've
Irish
been at-
coffee or something.
Yeah.
yeah, I know that's not.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, we don't want to cause ruckus, we want to work with the city on it, you know.
Right. But I understand where you're coming from too. I mean, someplace to go have a steak, people don't want always just beer and
Right.
wine. They want to have a nice drink with it.
Yeah, like shoes, I don't know if you've been down there, I think that man does really well, but he's only open 2 nights a week, you know, if that man would open up 7 days a week.
Well, it wasn't always predicted to be 2 nights a week either. Sometimes he's closed for a whole month and you don't know.
Yeah.
I have a question that could be relevant. Does Uber and Lyft operate in Marshall? Will they come? and
There's
fix
about
it?
one person.
You know, what? Maybe that's a job opportunity, I don't know.
We're gonna pick them up.
Yeah.
you mentioned shoes, but shoes
For
is
the
not,
board too, huh?
is not in the middle of a community.
No, I was just saying, his idea.
And I think
that's
there's,
what
I
it
think
is.
there's a difference, and as you can tell, I'm not happy with the change in the direction of this. I mean, it's pretty easy to read that. You going from a community that has 0 tolerance for alcohol, and has not had it for, well, I think that ordinance was 1900 something, was put in, prohibiting that. Bloomingdale's the same way. And you're opening the door so wide that once that door is open, there's no way to get the hogs back in the pen. It's open. And I think, you know, we have to face our community with that.
Right.
And I really think, I just don't think it'll fly in the community.
I don't know. I think things are kind of changing those some, because I think the state parks opened up, they serve full alcohol now.
I don't know.
I think the inn does. I mean, the states have went that way, and I think if you have the ordinances and stuff, if you want to have a business, it's like you said, and you wanna draw a nice clientele, there's certain things you kinda have to have, but you gotta have the ordinances
The
there.
state park is clear out there with no main land, and same with Mark. Mark's downtown, he doesn't have, I mean, he's got
Up the
people
creek
within
serves
blocks.
alcohol.
Huh?
Up the creek serves alcohol.
Alcohol.
And it's a pain out there, you see people getting it, and they're, you know,
But there's no.
But I'm thinking back to where Colfax sold the fish. They had beer and wine, they didn't have any other choices on there. And I didn't see that being a detriment to the kind of business they were running. I think it's a big change, I think it's
the
something.
markup on the beer and wine, there's just not enough markup in a small area.
and see, I'm surprised at that, because you go down to Mark's and 99% of people, which I don't drink, but 99% of the people are sitting there and drinking beer.
Yeah.
They've got beer.
That's
It's
not
cheap.
where he's making his money, though. He's making money off those people that are there late at night when you're gone, that are drinking 20 of them.
Beer.
Well.
Just one more,
But-
just one
I
more.
mean, well, yeah, they do have shots, you're right, there are some of those that they're, but they're in their party.
He can tell you how many
They're partying.
WWIs that they've picked up leaving Marks, though.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying, he's saying he's wanting to eat, but they're in there partying at midnight.
There's a big difference between liquor and beer and wine. I mean,
So,
What are our options? I mean, do nothing is an option, I understand that.
Right. You could open it to liquor and everything and regulate the hours of service. You could regulate that they have to come for board approval prior to opening shop. You can regulate the hours of service. Enforcement's the problem. It's not regulation, it's enforcement that's the problem. I mean, you have a small town with one marshal. So, that's my concern, is enforcement. I think he would probably join me, and that would be my guess. But.
Is there any way to do like a probationary license that's,
No, it's either all or none.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're rigorous.
I'll be learning all about that real soon.
I know that there's a place, I don't know if anybody, up at West Point, Indiana, they're right, and it's a small little town, they're right in the
I know
middle.
right
Eddie
where it's at.
Joe's, you know where Eddie
I know
Joe's?
right where it's at.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice little place, it doesn't seem like,
Yeah, I mean, I would go there, but I mean, for what that's worth, but I'm also probably not the ones you have to worry about drinking and driving or doing other things, you know, so.
My concern is are you going to be able to police your own stuff? Because I can't police everything for you.
Right.
So is there something that's are you gonna have somebody that's gonna be dedicated to that? Because
Actually-
I can't go.
Our security team is all veterans and very well trained, so like the whole thing is gonna be completely safe on our end. Now, once they leave.
I'm not worried about safety. I'm talking like, am I gonna be called there for fights 2 times
no.
a night or?
Yeah, like, we're not wanting a biker bar, like, that's not the scene we're wanting, you know, that's the scene we try to get these places away from. Of course, y'all didn't have a bar to begin with, but usually the ones that we do already have, some kind of alcohol being served there. And like I said, the one in Ohio, actually had a bike club in it, and not only did we have to buy the place off of them, well, then we had to get rid of them because they wanted to keep hanging out, acting like it was still their place or whatnot, so we had to totally take care of that too. And we did that all without the law being involved.
And so are you gonna have like off-duty law enforcement there? Is that the plan?
One of them's a retired state trooper for Ohio, and he's moving here in May. He's actually one of the main investors, and so he'll be over all the security over.
Yeah, the off-duty police would help more than anything. Because I mean, if you got a bouncer there that beats up on somebody, I'm gonna get a report 2 days later that I gotta go deal with that bouncer who just beat the crap out of somebody.
I don't know, Brent, my cousin Brent Ireland, he volunteers for the sheriff. I don't know if he'd be eligible for that. I mean, is that something he would?
Well, you'd have to go through the proper channels for that, but you can just like.
But I mean, is that what you're talking about? Like,
Well,
he goes
you
and
just have
does-
to open it up to like.
He goes
the-
and does different events or whatnot.
Yeah, you can open up to the sheriff's department and ask for off-duty officers.
I
Yeah.
think that alleviates.
That doesn't help us with
That's
the
the stuff
ordinance.
that we don't know.
No,
about.
but
And your biggest problem is gonna be noise and loitering and trash and parking and once you get to that, those are the things that we employ you for. If it's a criminal act, I'm not so concerned because I know Park County and the state police can take care of that.
Right.
and if you are opening restaurant that's gonna have sandwiches and alcohol, what's going to stop the people that start in at Mark's and they have these rallies and they go from bar to bar to bar to bar, and you're being one of the spots?
That'd be something you have to regulate on the ordinance side, maybe not have poker runs or whatnot, because that's what those are, they're poker
That
runs.
we could tell you
And
you
it's
can't
usually-
have those.
Right, yeah, and it'd just be like us trying to throw a parade here, it'd be the same thing, we'd have to come to you and ask if we could have a parade. Those ones that have those poker runs, they have to get permission.
Well, I appreciate what you've done in the building and the conversation and the frankness that we've had as I've looked at that. This is not something we can consider and do in the next
I
20
think
minutes.
it's something we need to kind of talk about, kind of figure out what kind of ordinances that we need to make sure that we have. What are we needing?
Really, enforcement's my concern.
That's,
I mean, we can draft ordinances to alleviate some concerns, but
that'll be our other thing is we need to
enforcement's the problem.
think what we can do about the enforcements. Other than, is that something that we can end up and we require as part of the thing? I mean,
Well-
we have to have coverage here on the weekends when,
See, my hope, as always, is to do things in a positive manner for Marshall. And I look at Mecca, and I look at Russellville, and I look at Wayland, and I look at places that have those establishments, and I don't see a community that's growing. I don't see a positive from that aspect at all. It's taking the people that own that establishment and putting money in their pocket, but is not in direct
giving back to the
given back to
community.
the community. And so I don't see that as a positive for the town of Marshall at all. We like business that come in here. But I just don't see a positive in that side of things. A restaurant with a beer is a lot different. That's me. But there's no need putting it here, and in 10 years, people say, I don't like the noise, I don't like the mess, I don't like the drunks on the street, I'm leaving. That doesn't get us anywhere.
Right. And like I said, that's not what we want, we don't want to.
I do understand that, and I'm not saying I
Just like
don't.
coming in and cleaning up the building, we come in with positive attitude, we want to do the place better, and we do. And everybody wants a restaurant. But restaurant's not what I want to do, but
Sure.
everybody wants a restaurant. And like I said, with the investors, they said the only way I can do the restaurant is if I have an alcohol sales.
Okay.
And that's above me, they're the ones that put the money up for this, I can't afford to do this by no means. We're $100,000 in and not even finished with just a quarter of the building. We've still got 3 other stages to go through on it, so.
Do you ever see though, if you do have a nice restaurant, that it does help with additional businesses coming in?
And the only one I got to go off of is the small one that we did in Ohio, and it's really hard to tell because it's nothing, that's the only thing there. It's kind of like Marshall, there's not even a gas station there, so it does stay busy. As far as bringing other business in, I can't really say, one way or the other on that. I wouldn't know.
Do you guys get a lot of complaints from the community though?
No, actually, we did really good there because it was a serious problem beforehand with the biker club in there, because it was a full-blown biker gang. It wasn't just your typical weekend riders like at 36 and stuff like that. It was a full-blown patched gang.
Other questions?
No, my only thing is just basically, we just kind of need to think on it and just kind of discuss. And kind of maybe go out and see some other places and just try to get some feel. I mean, now that we know of somebody's like that in the community, maybe we go to another community where it hasn't and just kind of just see how they feel, what kind of issues. Because I mean, you're still going to end up, and if you're serving beer and wine, you're still going to end up with drunks. You're still going to end up with bar fights. I mean,
Right.
you're still going to have.
Without alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, it's alcohol. It doesn't matter how strong it is. You're still going to have problems.
I think your thing too is just kind of opening the door to begin with.
Right.
Sure. Once you open the door, there's no closing
Yeah.
it. I don't know how you ever shut it down. pass an ordinance that you can't do that any longer once you're in business.
Well, and then you're gonna get sued and you have to defend the ordinance in court and, you know, you're impending on
Yeah.
the.
Yeah,
Right now, the precedence here is you can't do that.
Right.
And they knew that when they bought the building.
True.
Whereas once we open it up and then people start investing money and spending money and building businesses and things like that, that makes it a little tougher.
I can just see it being tough for the town. I don't see that sign out front selling homes and bringing in families. And that's the only way that we're gonna survive as a town. And if we don't have that ability, then you will be a bar in the middle of nowhere eventually.
Yeah, we don't want that either. I mean, we need, we gotta have people.
Right. Thank you. We'll give it some thought.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Like I said, that's usually not my thing, so that's why I needed to come to y'all anyway, so to get some permission.
Well, we do appreciate what you've done to the building, to stabilize
Yes.
it and that. I will say that. I applaud you for that.
And I'll let the guys know, that you're gonna think it over and, next meeting, should I come back or get in contact with you or
Yeah, why don't you do that?
just get in contact with you?
Yeah.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right,
Go get me
thank
some
you.
dinner. Y'all enjoy your evening.
You too.
you
Kathy?
too.
There's our readings. So, you know, but like I said, we had some justifications and
Yeah, March 29th, 30th, and 31st, we are going.
And see, the house down here that sold, that's what I was just talking to him before we started, they had 31,000 gallons, so, and no one's actually living there, hadn't been living there.
Which house is that?
It's the old Scott Hoover house trailer.
Okay.
So something's going on down there that's gotta be, and I don't know if it's gonna get worse or what, unless they left the hose on. So I'm gonna get in contact with him, the previous owner, and say, you know, this is your responsibility, and,
You don't need an initial on
you know, pass it around and give it to Tom.
those? Okay.
And here's the,
While we look back there, do you know where the water meter is at for the Coleman property down here, north end of town?
yeah, it's out there by the driveway, Coleman property and out by the driveway.
It is,
I know you guys have talked about it.
it's more towards the south corner of the property and then not too far from the
I
road.
reckon we ought to pull that.
South corner back toward.
Yeah, Kenny has shut that off
Yeah.
before.
Is that
So,
what-
Ken- your brother has been down there to actually shut that meter off.
Right.
So, yeah, it seemed like there was an old corner fence there.
I was thinking there was a corner post fence right there, and that shoots across that yard at an angle then.
Yeah, the actual water would head at an angle toward the house. So
Yes.
you're far enough outside what,
Well, Marvin Brody bought that property, and he's wanting to know about that.
Which is
He didn't
odd.
want the meter taken out, but they're gonna cut the water line off, of course, you know, because they're gonna tear it out of there. Maybe for future use is what.
Say the water is off now.
Well, I told him I'd find out where that meter is. He was gonna go down yesterday and look at it. I was too busy yesterday, but,
And it should be exposed, because they were down there working on it not too terribly long ago,
yeah.
because we was having some problems there.
We would just pull that meter completely out of there, and I assume,
And that is who bought it though? I didn't know somebody did buy it.
Yeah.
Marvin Brody did.
Marvin Brody.
You know why they bought that? Well, because look at that big tile that runs that field back there.
yeah.
And that property encompassed part of that property where that tile comes through. And they want control of that. So he owns that field across the way
That's
from
not the
it.
reason I heard he bought it, but okay. But yeah, that makes good sense.
Well, what do you think he bought it for?
Well, I can't remember. Other than that, I don't think
Good.
I have anything.
Okay.
Oh, T-Trex, they used to have the 50
Maybe that's where that water's coming out of.
But see, it just went, before it's been in the sixties, so.
Anybody have anything else?
We're gonna do any road patching?
We don't have any money, you can't.
The answer is, it would be nice. It's finding somebody to do the patching that's god awful.
Where you got holes in your fix?
Well, what about the young man that did this last fall for us right out here and everything?
Yeah. I mean, he would probably do it. Is there places that you're thinking?
Well, 2 or 3 places, but that Center Street over is pretty damn rough over here. But right down there in front of the hotel, past me, the big 2-story house, there's a big strip out there in the middle, probably this long, this wide, about that deep. I mean, it's just gone.
I drove
And
down
then-
today, didn't notice it today.
It's there, Kathy. You gotta look for
Because
it.
I stopped in front of your house to get your meter. to
Not
read.
my house.
I know, but I would go slow down through there, how did I miss that?
I don't know.
gotta pay attention.
Then up over that over, put that ground up asphalt came back out, they created a dam right there, and that water pressure was pushing it out. We're gonna have a big hole there one of these days.
What do they have in a?
You don't have any money in there.
What do we
Okay,
have?
long story made short, I don't care if you
Okay.
fix it or not.
Is that
What
what
I'm
I
trying to tell you is a
$7
pretty decent street, and I see you hate to go to pot, because we're not gonna take care of it.
And you have
Yes.
local roads and streets, you have $3,400, and we have a $7,000 payment due in September. So you have no money in there.
Okay.
That makes me think too, the tree that fell down here, is that our tree?
The tree that fell down.
It's across the fence down there.
Yeah, in front of Jason
Keith.
Keith's house. It's between the road and his fence, and it fell on the fence.
I didn't know anything about it.
I didn't tell her I did the meters today. It's on the east side there, across from, not Tag's house, the modular down there. I was like,
I
oh.
can't answer that. I don't know what that right of way is through there.
And I didn't know, because I thought, oh, is that, when I saw that, I thought, oh, is that town responsibility?
You have to measure from the center of the road, figure out what the right of way is.
Yeah.
But I don't know off the top of my head either.
There's never been sidewalks there. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I didn't even know it was.
I, like I said, I saw it today.
I
and
never
I was
looked
like,
up the roads right either.
Yeah.
Some of the roads are kinda off,
Okay.
because I think when they
Yeah.
surveyed
I went on his
that down
fence.
there,
I haven't seen him either, so I don't know.
Everything in Park County is a little
Okay.
off that way.
We're adjourned. Thank you.